Hey, it's Mazzy here, and welcome back. David Bowie freaks, rejoice. After 10 years, a journey, a box set journey to put out his entire catalog in a series of box sets started in 2015 with David Bowie, 5 years, 1969 to 1973. And every box set since has this same slipcase design. I only have the first two. I don't have the rest because I have all these records already, even though every box set comes with some extras, some live tracks, a few morsels here and there. And of course, if you're a fan, if you're a freak, you're always disappointed anyway because they don't include this or that or this or something is missing for you. But it has been announced today that September 12th, the sixth and final David Bowie box set will come out. This one's called I Can't Give Everything Away, 2002 to 2016. Now, it contains those amazing 4 albums, plus some live albums and some extra tracks. And again, things that not everyone has. Now, I'm a huge David Bowie fan. I got into him in 1973. I saw him at Winterland when 500 people showed up in a venue that holds 5,000 people for the Ziggy Stardust tour. My first time. Saw him again on the Great White Duke tour, and probably I've seen him maybe 6 times throughout his entire career. And what a great artist, a great chameleon. I don't need to tell you about the entire David Bowie history here, but this is an announcement on this box set. Now, it's coming out obviously in 2 configurations. It is a 13 CD set. I think that's going to be around, I think, $220. Is that right? Not quite sure. The vinyl set, 18 pieces of vinyl, 18 slabs of wax for $549. Now, these are retail prices. I already saw when I got the notification from the Bowie site, I could register and I get 20% off. Now, I don't know if it covers the box set, so check those kind of things out. And as we know, these kind of prices fluctuate. I don't want to talk about the prices, but they will fluctuate. 10 years ago, the box set was $249, but it was less records in terms of the quantity of content, and it was 10 years ago, okay? The Reunion album from 2002, bringing together again David Bowie and Tony Visconti since 1980, and that is Heathen. I love this cover. I love the art direction on these albums, and I love how, I think it was Jonathan Barnbrook worked as a collaborator with David Bowie, and David Bowie's always had really interesting artwork. Some people like some of his covers better than others, but I always loved his innovation and his style and his intensity again. And I think this is a gorgeous cover. I like the black and white. I like the kind of upside down and reversed type treatment here. Great photography as usual. David Bowie album. This is a release. This was basically Columbia ISO Records, his own new label, through Friday Music. And I think this is the only way this was issued. I don't really know the history beyond this. And I love this record. Now, some will say, and some would be correct, there was a series of records, these records, and, you know, throughout these collaborations with Tony Visconti, where a lot of them were like some people say squashed or crushed, or the dynamics weren't always there. And apparently Visconti and Bowie like that sound and love that sound. So you don't always get the great dynamics you might get in earlier Ken Scott recordings with Bowie. And that's the sound that they like. So we'll see how this turns out. But again, the box set's coming out September 12th. Obviously, there's Heathen. Then one of my favorites, and I actually like this cover, and my neighbor in the my loft office I had in San Francisco upstairs was an artist who lived there for a while. His name is Rex Ray. Unfortunately passed away some years ago, but a great illustrator, designer, art director. Worked a lot with sort of the avant-garde independent artists and design scene. Rex Ray designed this cover, again, with Jonathan Barnbrook, a collaboration. Some people don't like this cover, but I dig this a lot. And this is a record, You know, initially, Heathen didn't really grab me initially, but now I love these 4 albums. But this record is a cool record. I really especially like the last track that goes on for something like 10 minutes. It has this amazing jazzy piano. It's called Bring Me the Disco King. I love that. And he does a cover of Jonathan Richman's Pablo Picasso, and also does a cover of Try Some, Buy Some, the George Harrison song. And as I recall, this came out not long after George Harrison passed away, so it's kind of a tribute to George. But I like this record too. And this is an ISO Columbia. This is a music on vinyl. And as far as I know, at the time, this was the only vinyl release. Jonathan Barnbrook, to some, maybe controversial. And I remember just the response to this album cover. Now, it's about the music, but as I've said before, design and art direction and photography are very important to me when it comes to records. And I remember people saying, God, this record cover, that's horrible. It's so lazy. And that's the next day. And of course, they take Heroes and he slaps this thing out. Now, I've seen the presentation. You can find it online that he gave to Bowie of all these kind of options and all these different treatments, design treatments for album covers. And this is just one of them, One Direction. And I think this is ballsy to do something like this. It's not lazy. It's a conceptual modern art creation, which I think is really wonderful. I love Next Day. I think this is a wonderful record. I mean, look at this. I mean, it does kind of kick you in the teeth and makes you like, what the fuck is that? But I think this is incredible, and I think this is really, thoughtful. You don't have to like, and if art can kind of make you feel something, you know, good, bad, or ugly, in terms of your reaction, all the power to you. Obviously, there's a gatefold here, and the next day, and the next, and another day. And here's the gatefold. Obviously, wonderful photographs in the inner sleeves. And you have this here. This was a time I moved to Seattle when this came out. And this came out in 2013, so I just moved to Seattle. And I remember hearing that Paul Smith makes these kind of cool striped shirts. This is not one of them. I love Paul Smith shirts. They're kind of out of my current price range right now, but there was a time I would buy a bunch of his shirts, the last year's model, when you could get like a bunch of them for like $25. Talking about fashion and Bowie go hand in hand. So if you think that's a pretentious thing, forget it. It's the design style of David Bowie. I'm no David Bowie, obviously, but I remember going into the San Francisco store, because I'd go back to San Francisco for work every week. And downtown in San Francisco at the time, I don't know if it's still there, there was a Paul Smith store. Beautiful suits, beautiful shirts, all the fashion Paul Smith stuff. I know this is not a fashion channel. I'm not a fashion icon or guru or a fashion dude. I hate to say the word dude even, but there was a Paul Smith edition. And this goes for money now. And this is it. Now, it looks exactly the same, except it has a sticker. It says Paul Smith for David Bowie, limited edition. And the only change of this is that it's on red vinyl. But collectors, eat your heart out. For a Bowie collector, this was a big deal. 2015, Friday went to Silver Platters in Seattle, closest record store in my vicinity in the Soto area, to pick up the new David Bowie record. And they had like 5 copies. That was it. 5 copies of a David Bowie record. And I think when I went there, there was a couple people there, and we grabbed the last several copies, and I grabbed Black Star. And I brought it home, and I love this. I had heard one of the tracks. You know, there's a different mix of tracks that first came out, and I think it was Sue or In a Season of Crime. And he does his album. You know the album. And if you don't know it, this is an incredible album. I know people have said, I can't listen to that album. It's so sad because of the timing of the album. But to me, that is the brilliance of music like this. Even if it's dark, and this is a dark, brooding album, this is such a wonderful record. And I love the mix of this avant-garde jazz on here. But I heard that song and I really, really liked it. I got that EP that initially came out, and then it was on this song, slightly different version as I recall. Again, you Bowie freaks will know more than I do because I don't really think of my music and get in that way and know which one's version, which one's that version. I just like the feel, the style of this album. So I bought this album on Friday, played it all weekend. Of course, then I woke up that following Monday morning. Bowie had just celebrated a birthday, and we heard that he passed, and we heard that he had cancer for a number of years. And he worked on this album, and he knew he was dying. And what a wonderful record this is. Dark, brooding. The original copy, this is my original copy. It's black vinyl. I've heard some people have clear vinyl. I don't know about that. I got this the day of release. Either way, I think it's a brilliant album, and it's one of my favorite albums ever of David Bowie, and he has such a wonderful career. In this period, some of these records did take time to get into, and of course, people revisit an artist's discography when they pass, and you kind of get an appreciation. So I would keep up, and I would buy all of David Bowie's records as they came out. But let's get into this box set now, okay? So those are the 4 records, the studio records that are the meat of this box. And then you ask, that's 4 records, 18 pieces of vinyl? So let's talk about the contents of this box set now. Now, we know from past experience that the box sets come out, and about a year later, the primary albums usually come out as individuals. So if you're not into the whole box set, you can get the records a year later, probably. However, there are usually exclusive to the box set, things you cannot get outside of the box. Will that change? Has it changed before? I'm not quite sure. But exclusive to each box set are the Montreux Jazz Festival and Recall 6. Now, the Montreux was recorded in July of 2002 at the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. Among the 31 tracks is a full performance of one of Bowie's most revered album, Low. So the entire Low is done live there. There are also 41 non-album alternative versions, B-sides, soundtrack songs, including some tracks never previously available on CD and vinyl, over 3 CDs and 4 LPs. An 84-page hardback book. So you get Heathen, the Montreux Festival is 4 LPs. Reality is 1 LP. The Reality Tour, a live tour around the time of Reality, is 3 LPs. So you're getting a lot of live Bowie in here. The Next Day Remastered, 2 LPs. The Next Day Extra Remastered, 1 LP. Black Star, 1 LP. No Plan, 1 LP. And then Recall 6 are the non-album singles, edits, single versions, B-sides, soundtrack music, remastered, 4 LPs. Now you have to look up the CD thing. I'm not going to tell you that, but the CD obviously is a lot less. So as of this recording, some of the pre-orders are up. You can pre-order to the David Bowie site. Again, for the first time, see if that 20% discount works. I'm sure it'll be up at your other sites eventually and local sites. It's not coming out till September, so you have some time. A lot of people are like, where's the preview? Where's the link? Where's the buy link? I want to buy it. This is the end, for now, of David Bowie box sets. Again, there's going to be a plethora of unreleased stuff and expanded stuff. My guess, I don't know. I haven't heard anything, obviously. But this is a big deal. This, again, it bookends his catalog, a 10-year period to reissue his entire catalog in box sets. Obviously, I don't know anything about the remastering on this. Tony Visconti is a part of it. Again, I think he oversees these. As far as I recall, everything's from digital files here. They're not from analog tape, so that's just the way it is. That's what the Bowie estate and Tony Visconti has decided. I don't know if those albums were recorded digitally or on tape. If you do know, put it in the comments below. And so it goes. The David Bowie final box set for now. I can't give everything away. 2002 to 2016 coming out on September 12th. So thanks for watching, and Mazzy loves you.